And see if it shows up on my thing because there is a delay. Let's present. And yeah, there's a delay. I've got two screens showing up.
Yeah, it says context something. What did it say instead?
Get out there. Cancel. Oh my good Lord, Sheila, what are you doing? Present. All right, I just want to move that out of the way, but why is it not moving? I don't know what it's doing.
Okay.
It's not.
Am I hearing, are you still on the phone with me, or am I hearing you through your connection?
No, you're on the phone.
Okay.
I see two pictures of me. There I am. And I see two pictures on the line too, so.
I'm hearing you through your connection.
No, you're on the phone. All right, there we go. I'm hanging up on you. I see two pictures of me. I don't know why. There I am. And I see two pictures on the line too, so.
I'm hearing you through your connection.
No, you're on the phone. All right, there we go. I'm hanging up on you. I see two pictures of me. I don't know why. There I am. And I see two pictures on the line too, so.
I'm hearing you through your connection.
No, you're on the phone. All right, there we go. I'm hanging up on you. I see two pictures of me. I don't know why. There I am. And I see two pictures on the line too, so.
I'm hearing you through your connection.
No, you're on the phone. All right, there we go. I'm hanging up on you. I see two pictures of me. I don't know why. Well, where's the volume on this one? Well, how do I turn the volume off? All right. Well, hi, everyone. I cannot see you, so I apologize. I'm just trying to learn how to do this screen share thing. It worked this morning, and for whatever reason, I've been struggling with it since. That being said, I'm here. We're here. We are ready to go. So thank you for joining me today on Lead Life by Design's Friday Tidbits. Today, we're going to talk about the power of identity in money. And what do I mean by that? When you're looking at your identity, how you talk about yourself, right? That emotion behind how you talk about yourself is really your true identity. It's that core within you that you believe who you are, right? It has many different faces, similar to many different hats that we wear throughout the day, right? We go to work, we wear our employee hat. We come home, we wear our mom hat. We go to our friend's house, we put our friend's hat on, right? In each of those scenarios, we present ourselves in a different way, but it's the same thing with the identity, our identity, right? We are presenting our identity. Who we are is who we're showing up as in each of those scenarios with each different hat on. I hope that makes sense. So when we're looking at how we identify ourselves in different situations, when we talk about money, that's when it really gets interesting, is because how we talk about ourselves to other around our money is truly the core identity in who we believe we are as it relates to money. And that's that self-talk, as well as those underlying tones when the subject of money comes up. Right? Today, my name is Sheila Wood. I'm sorry, I am a little flustered just because things didn't work, but we'll get back on track. I am Sheila Wood, the CEO of Lead Life by Design and the creator of the Financial Alignment Academy, where we blend personal development strategies with your personal financial plan to actually affect long-term financial change and success. So I just want to start with the question, how do you describe yourself when you're talking about money? Do you describe yourself as a worker bee? Do you describe yourself as being broke all the time? Do you describe yourself in a lack mentality? And when I say lack mentality, meaning that there's never enough, right? There's never enough. No matter what we get, there's never enough. And we can never seem to hold on to that money. Those words that are coming out of your mouth reference it to money, and the emotion behind those words. Are you identifying yourself at a specific level when it relates to money? So ask yourself, how do you describe yourself when you're talking about money? Pay attention throughout the day and realize, pay attention to what is actually being said and the undertones of how you're saying it. Do you identify yourself as an employee? Right? When let's say you're looking at becoming a manager, you're an employee and you want to move up in the company. Those fears that come along with being able to step into the next level all come from that core identity of you believing that you can be a manager and that you could be a great manager. And the amount of money that comes with that step up also has a lot to do with it. So if I've got the employee mentality, that hourly mentality, I'm identifying myself with an hourly worker, then stepping into a salary job as it relates to the number of hours that you put in, the extra workload that goes with it, you start having a conflict between, is it worth being a manager for me? Because I'm an hourly person and I'm used to getting that hourly wage, and at 40 hours, it's time and a half. But as salary, you're an exempt employee, you're expected to do the job for the salary that is given, right? So how do you identify yourself when it comes to that? Do you identify yourself as a manager? And what level of a manager? Are you a new manager, a mid-level manager, a high-level manager, right? When you're looking at your value that you add to a company and being able to accept the money that comes with that position, allows you to recognize how your true core is keeping you small. How you identify yourself with money is keeping you small. Being a mid-level manager and stepping into the executive level, right? What does that take? What kind of fears come up for you? What kind of self-talk comes up for you? Are you saying, I can't do that. I don't have the skills to do that. I am not good enough, right? I am not that type of manager. The I am statements are coming from your core. Are you a leader? Do you identify yourself as a leader no matter what position you have? Do you influence others to be better than who they currently are? And when I say influence, I'm not telling, right? You don't tell others how to be better. Influence is walking the talk, right? Or do you identify yourself as just someone who shows up for work every day, right? It's not your job. An entrepreneur, I identified myself as an entrepreneur for many, many years because I'm one of those people that step up and take on projects. I'm one of those people that step in and learn the why. I want to make things better. I process improve almost everything I step into, always have. My natural instinct of being an entrepreneur and adding value to the company was not in alignment with my ability to have the right income that went with that. Because my identity as my income stood was minimal because it wasn't my priority. Being a mom was my priority. So my identity and the money that I brought home was more in alignment with my husband taking care of me and taking care of the household. I just brought in a little extra money, right? I needed to work, so I identified as a worker, but I didn't identify as somebody who brought in a lot of money and supported the household. I identified as someone being taken care of until I could no longer be taken care of, right? And that's usually when the questions of who am I start showing up. Do you identify yourself as an entrepreneur? Are you somebody that takes those massive risks on different things and different ways to make money? Because as an entrepreneur, you're a big picture thinker. You see things bigger than they are sitting on the table. You step up, you look from a high level down, and you see every moving part as an entrepreneur. And how can you improve that, right? Someone who believes that making money is their identity will always find a way to make money, always. Because it comes in the pivoting, it comes in the way we think, it comes into the way we believe in ourselves to be able to solve the problem, right? I hope that makes sense. One of the things that I really found interesting, this graph shows two pieces. The blue line is my line. The blue line is where I have been in my financial journey because of the way I identified my income to be. I started out at 16 years old, and I literally stayed in that 20 to 40,000 range for most of my career. And you can see several drops that happen in there, right? You can see it dropped here and it dropped here. And a lot of that had to do with getting frustrated with where I was and needing to make a change, but not knowing how to make that change, right? 3% raises is what I got. I stayed at my first job for 10 years, started out at $375 at 16 years old, 3% for 10 years. So by the time that I was 28 years old, I wasn't making any more money. But I didn't identify myself in the money. I identified myself in the working, in the work, the showing up, the work ethic. I didn't identify it as the value add, the value that I deserve, right? And then again, in, I don't remember what year that was, 2007, I believe it was, I quit my next job. My next job after that, I was there for 7 years. Consistent, again, starting out at minimum wage that was available to me at the time for the position I got, and 3% raises from here there forward. Those 3% were great. Every time I got it, it was a few extra dollars in my paycheck, right? I identified myself as a worker bee. I did not identify myself as somebody who is willing to take risks and make money. Now, other people, when they get started out of school, they go to college, they know in their mind that they're going to start at a minimum of $50,000 a year. They're starting at a higher range because they believe that their value, that being in a career, their money identity is about starting at a decent level. Their worth is starting at a decent level. And they consistently, even if you go 3% there, starting at $50,000, those 3% increases right across the board is all much higher because 3% on $50,000 versus 3% on $19,000 is a huge difference, right? But it also shows the identity of consistent worker, right? So it shows the identity in his front end that making money is something I'm going to do. It's a commitment to themselves and that they're worth making the money. But it also relates to that consistent work with the 3% raises until they decide to do something different. And whether that's taking that leap to go into the next level, right? There's always an income jump between being an employee and being a manager. But when you become a manager, if you don't have the identity of owning and believing your worth, that $70,000, that $80,000 that you just got, that $30,000 raise you just got for changing responsibilities, if your identity is still stuck at $50,000, you're not going to be able to hold on to the $30,000 that's in between. It's going to go away. You're not going to be able to save it because your identity is not in an $80,000 income range. It's in a $50,000 income range. But what's really, really interesting is as you start increasing your identity in money, the more you make and you start owning that identity, you can't go back. It is impossible to go back. So somebody who makes $500,000 a year is not going to take a job that's going to earn them $250,000. They're not going to take a job that earns them $60,000 because their time is worth a lot more to them in their money identity. Right? I hope that makes sense. Many times, typical traits of one type may be completely opposite when under stress, in some ways mirroring other types under normal conditions. What does that mean? Nature versus nurture. I'm actually certified in the Myers-Briggs personality testing. Now, as you go through and recognize the different personalities and how they interact or react to things, it talks a lot about the difference between what was natural to you as a child versus what you have learned, which is nurtured through your environment and through your experiences, right? So when you're looking at the typical traits of one person based on the Myers-Briggs personality testing, it may state that you're an extrovert, for instance, right? But under stress, you tend to stay home and hide and isolate. That shows that your nature is more of an introvert than it is an extrovert. You have learned to be an extrovert through your lifetime based on situations that have happened. When you're looking at your money as it relates to that, I'm going to use myself as an example here again. Stepping into this new business, taking the risk of having no income while I'm building it is out of my natural order of being conservative and my natural order of really loving comfort. Having that steady income and that paycheck coming in every week was comfortable for me. And it was a good paycheck. And it was comfortable for me. It was me reaching the goals that I wanted to reach financially, finally, because I changed my money identity. As I recognized and made an effort, I started making more money as I moved up in the ladder, right? Moved up in the ladder, and then I decided to take the risk and be an entrepreneur. That was not natural for me. My natural instinct is to stay comfortable. My nurtured instincts was to learn how to do something different. And in that, the stressors that come up are real. The fear of not having enough money is real. But you can nurture that as well into more of an entrepreneur mindset by practicing the belief system and the manifestation system of knowing that everything's going to be okay. That knowing that if other people can do it, I can do it as well. Right? That's the difference between the nature versus the nurture. Neither one of them, your natural identity, the one that you've had since you were a little bitty kid, does not have to always be that way. I'm going to give you another example of a friend of mine who grew up in a pretty decent home for the most part. And they always say they can't be more than what they are because it's not in their genes, right? They're in construction, which is a great opportunity, right? Construction, you can make a lot of money in construction, depending on what it is your mindset is about your money worth, right? He's in construction at the level that as a worker, right? It's hard work. It's not a lot of money. And in his mind, he believes that he's not built to be anything different than what he is. But when you're looking at the nurture side of things, It is a commitment to yourself to do things different. And it might not feel natural, but stepping through fear and being able to create that new identity, that new money worth, takes nurturing. It takes doing something different to be able to step through that. Here are some of the things that you can do to nurture change. One of the biggest and the foremost is vision. Who do you want to be? Identifying who you think you are today allows you to find the gap between who you want to be. Who do you want to be? What is your vision for yourself? Right? I've never written a book before, but I want to be an inspired author. You know, it's on my vision board right here. I've already written the first draft of my first book. I'm ready to step that up and get it published, right? But that was, for me, a big fear. Another reason to step into nurturing change. I'm not an author, right? That's my language. My language is saying I'm not an author. But when you change that and you expand it to, I am an author because I choose to be an author. Those I am statements are what's going to help you into the vision that you want. But without a vision, you have nowhere to go. You have nothing to guide yourself and to keep that compass moving forward. So having that vision for what exactly it is that you want your money identity to be and the amount of money that you know you're worth, you may not know it today, but you know that you want to know it, if that makes sense. So have a vision. Let's get clear on what it is that you want your money identity to be. The next one is identifying the wants. I lost my statement. Identity want is to be an emotional. I'm going to use my notes because it's got words over top of it and I can't see it from here. So let's move this up because I want you to see it as well. It's slow. All right, let's just look at it from here. All right, that identity, as in the identity you created within the vision, right? Vision that you've created for yourself. That identity want has to be an emotional must, not a frivolous would be nice to have. Right? When you're looking making a change in your identity, you're looking at a difference between I want to be that versus I am done and I will be that. Right? One of the exercises my personal development organization that I used for many years is what they call the I'm done with that exercise. That's the living course from Pedco. When you put a full body emotion around an I want, it becomes an emotional must. Like, I am done with that with all my energy, on my power. I'm not doing it anymore, period. Right? A really good example is alcohol, right? Let's say you drank too much one night of Jägermeister and you got sick. And you wake up the next morning and you swear, I am never doing that again. Right? The emotional must has kicked in because the effect of what your decisions were made you decide that I'm not doing that again. I'm not putting myself through that again. Right? So that identity of wanting to change your financial identity has to have the emotional must behind it. Where's the urgency in the change? Usually that urgency comes from dire need, getting a divorce and not knowing where your money is going or how you're going to live or how you're going to support yourself. That is an emotional change. You must look at the way you do money differently, right? It's not just a frivolous want. It's not that New Year's resolution saying, I want to make more money this year with no direction on how to do it. So what's the likelihood of that resolution lasting versus the resolution of, I have to support myself? The energy behind, I have to support myself. I don't know how I'm going to support myself, right? It truly gives that dire need and becomes that emotional must that will catapult you into nurturing change in your money identity. Tony Robbins says in several of his videos, human beings absolutely follow through with who they think they are. Meaning, if I'm talking about getting promoted as a manager, and I keep talking about to other people and to myself that, you know what, I don't know if I can do it. I'm just an employee. I'm just a secretary. I'm just this. I'm just that, right? To step into the managerial position becomes a challenge because your identity is grounded in, I am a secretary. I am just an employee. And because we are absolutely ingrained to follow who we think we are, we sabotage our efforts for becoming a manager unless it becomes a must, right? But our need to be consistent with who we are sabotages us in many ways, right? When you're a couple, this is another good example. As a couple, and one person is trying to improve that relationship. They're trying to really get their voice heard that they have different needs than what is being met in the moment. And the other person is saying, well, I am who I am. What do you want me to do? What do you expect of me? I am only who I am, right? Because they are so grounded in being consistent with who they are, there's no room for growth. And it's the same when it comes to your internal money identity. If you are so grounded in the fact that you are only a construction worker and that you don't have the capability of being anything more, then that is what you will always be until you have a catalyst that changes it to a must be different. I hope that makes sense. The last one, this video is I'm gonna move it out of the way again. This particular one talks about the nurture, right? We don't want to necessarily change our identity. What we're looking to do is to expand it. Because again, going back to that stressor, if you are a person who stresses when it comes to money on a continuous basis, your natural instinct, your natural identity is a worrywart, is a stressor, is someone who can't see past where they are, then it's important for you to get to that position where things must change and then start expanding it. You're not going to lose the natural part of you, right? But what you are doing now is becoming aware of the effect that natural instinct is having on you so that you can start expanding ways of shifting it, right? So stepping into this position, knowing that I'm someone who needs to be conservative, who likes security, likes to know my bills are paid, right? I identify with that from a natural perspective. So stepping into being an entrepreneur made me think outside of the box to be able to support myself while I'm building the business, right? Because the expansion of my worth, my money identity of knowing that it's okay to make money, that I'm not just a worker bee, that I'm not just mom. I'm allowed to have a career. I'm allowed to have a successful career. Forced me to start expanding my money identity. as you start going up that ladder, right? As you start making more money, your identity starts expanding already. It expands based on what you've experienced. Going back to the people who make $500,000 a year do not go for $60,000 a year jobs. Their money identity is not at $60,000. Their money identity is at $500,000. Take that same example and somebody who is making $100,000, but their mind identity is still stuck in the $50,000 range. Maybe they've been nurturing and growing into that manager's position as far as a work identity goes, but their money identity is still stuck at the $60,000. So anything that they make between the $60,000 and up, it disappears because they don't believe that their worth is in alignment with what they're making. There's a lot of that imposter syndrome that comes in. There's a lot of that thinking about, they're going to find out I'm not good enough, right? They're going to find out that I'm not who I say I am, if you will. I don't know why this video is not changing, but it's pretty interesting. So it's about the expansion, and sometimes as we make more money and we realize that gap, that we're not holding on to the money we're making, then we have to look at, okay, what is my savings identity? How do I identify in the future? Do I have a vision for where I want it to go? And do I believe that I'm worth getting there, right? And start expanding the fact that you do have the worth to get there. But it takes that nurturing effort to be able to continue the work and the growth when it comes to your income. I want to take it one more step farther. When you're looking at, like, maybe you're a person who really, really is good at making money, right? Making money is not an issue for you. When you have a need, the money shows up, period. But you tend to wait until you need it again to make more. You stay in that chaos mode, the urgency mode, because there's a disconnect between the identity of how much you're worth and how much you're making, right? So identifying as a person who needs to be in an urgent situation on a continuous basis because it helps feed my need to make money means there's a disconnect between either one, what you're doing and your identity and how you're making your money, or two, you're hung up in the identity of the trauma you had as a child. And if you're hung up on the identity of the trauma that you had as a child, it's very difficult to believe you're worth making the money that you know how to make. So you can see there's multiple identities in there. So let's say maybe that you are that person who identifies with making a lot of money and having a real career, right? And you're that person who stays with that same career for year over year over year. You may not stay with the same company because I think the average lifespan of a job is 3 to 5 years. Don't quote me on that right now, but I believe it's 3 to 5 years. And it's about moving up, not out, right? So if you need to move out to move up, then those are the choices that you make because you believe that you're worth the money to make more, right? And if you have a savings identity, an identity that security of the future is important to you, then you're going to find ways to save money, whether you're making $20,000 a year or you're making $150,000 a year or $500,000 a year. You're going to find a way to make sure that the future is secure for you because you identify as the person who needs that security, right? So you've got your savings identity, you've got your spending identity, you've got your income identity, you've got that need to have a plan identity, because maybe you don't identify with having a plan. Maybe for you, being that personality that likes spontaneity, you're willing to take those risks, right? But sometimes you have to nurture those identities to be able to have that secure future. So if you're one of those people that likes to fly by the seat of their pants, be spontaneous, if you will, you have to nurture the change to be able to be secure in the future. because there will come a time where you're in need and you're not ready for it because you're so used to just making it in the moment, if that makes sense, right? So that's that struggle between nature and nurture. But expanding your idea based on how you identify yourself in those areas will allow you to actually create the plan that you need to move forward. Right? I hope that makes sense. I know I've said that a lot, but in the Financial Alignment Academy, we really go through all those points, right? We start with the mindset. We start with that belief system and the identity of who you are. We go into the practical plan on how do you do it different. We nurture those different practical strategies with the mindset shifts to be able to allow you to sustain the changes, right? Because your identity is actually driving the way you handle your money. The way you talk to yourself and about yourself when it comes to money is driving you into the way you're handling your money today. And how do you shift that? That's through nurture. And sometimes it's through help. The Financial Alignment Academy helps you really dive into the how to get through it. You know, the phase 3 of the program really talks about your personal identity, your core, your mission, your life's intentions, you know, the things that drive you to do what you want, how you make your money. Because if you don't have a purpose in life and you're just going to work every single day to go to work, where's the joy in that? Right? So finding what brings you joy and how it's in alignment with who you are as a person helps you to nurture the changes you need when it comes to your financial identity. Finding that passion. Phase 4 is about the passion, your vision, that overall vision. We talked about that in the beginning of this. Without a vision of where you want to go, there's no roadmap to get there. You just keep taking steps, and it goes in this direction one day and goes in this direction another day, goes in this direction another day, because you're really acting more on a whim and on a thought for now than you are an overall long-term plan, right? And are you making money that's in alignment with who you are, your belief systems, your new belief systems, right? Because we've already shifted those. And how else can I make money? How else can I add value to my life to increase my income, to change that money identity through real experience? Because again, when you make more money, you don't go backwards, you go forwards. It's about what's next for me, not how can I start over, right? Sometimes starting over is a good thing. Sometimes your long-term plan is going to get you where you want to go, but you have to take a step backwards to move forwards, right? But when you're thinking of your personal money identity is the fact that I deserve more and I want it in alignment with who I am, what my passions are, right? Then you're okay with taking a step backwards, knowing that it's going to get you to that $500,000 range if that's what you're looking to do, right? So it talks about, oh, I got these videos all over the place. Sorry, they're going to spread out. So you got your money mindset, your current habits and restructure. I don't know what it's doing. I apologize, right? Your identity and desires, vision, passion, and worth, money opportunities, and then creating that roadmap for success. That is what the Financial Alignment Academy will do for you. And I don't know why, but these videos are all over the place, so I apologize. You know, if you like the information that you found in today's video, please like it below. Let me know that you're enjoying the content that I'm giving you. Share your personal identity, situation. Share with us, comment below, and let us know how you relate to your personal financial identity. And share the video. If you know somebody else who needs to see this information, please share it. I would love to be able to help. And I appreciate you being here with me today. Thank you so much. And hopefully next week I will have this mastered. So I thank you for being here. Happy Friday, Life Leaders. And I look forward to seeing you next Friday. Have a wonderful day.